What's the best job quitting story you can tell? I put in my 2 weeks at a call center and my supervisor, who was great the whole time I was there, said yeah, I'm just gonna give you 2 weeks paid vacation. I know how done you are with this place with your notice in. I give it an hour before you would call the first rude customer you got a cocksucker. Have a nice life man. It's been good working with you. Wherever you are these days Chris, good call. You were 100% right. That place and its customers. Dallas office, well-established company with a new CEO. CEO writes an all-company ML with some sort of harmless inspirational messaging about how we are going to crush it and do well. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing to get worked up about. A woman in accounting who was mild-mannered and a hardcore Christian Texas lady does a reply all that says something like we believe a word that pompous f***er has to say. She had been with the company for 15 years and came in super early to do the books, so by the time most people got to work, it had already happened. But people there at the time said that her reply all went out. She made a loud, for her, squeak when she realized her mistake, calmly got an empty box from the mail room, packed up her desk, walked out to her car without saying a word to anyone, and drove away. She was never seen again. Edit, spelling. My first quitting story, my boss told me that we were going to spend our breaks doing mandatory Zumba, and I told her I was going home. Didn't happen to me, but I got to watch this happen. I went into a Taco John's and ordered a super burrito with no tomatoes or black olives to go. They weren't super busy, but there were a couple of orders ahead of mine. So I'm standing near the counter watching them put items together, and I see that they have started on my burrito. The cook loads it up with everything and wraps it up. He has it in his right hand and reaches up with his left to clear out the order on the monitor. He stops for a moment when he realizes that he f***ed up by putting everything on the burrito. He is facing me and he turns around and fires a 100 miles per hour fastball burrito against the back wall. He walks into the back room, takes off his Taco John's shirt, puts on a t-shirt, grabs his smokes and his drink and heads out the back door. 30 seconds later the girl running the drive-thru wants to know where Brian is. I pointed him out to her as by now he is walking across the parking lot toward downtown. I told her that I think Brian gave his notice. She says a few choice words and wants to know what I ordered. Way to give it the man, Brian. Relayed to me by one of my buddies. Way back when we were still in HS, my friend's coworker was getting fed up with the supermarket they worked in. It was a few towns over in a not so nice area and was right off the highway, so that made it super busy and a lot of out of town commuters. He was going away to college and hated management. On his last day a woman walks up to his line and tries to browbeat him into taking a bunch of expired coupons. He tells her he needs to check with his supervisor and slowly pulls out a jack-in-the-box from under his till and methodically places it on the scanner and just starts cranking the thing. When it finally pops he looks her in the eye and just says yeah. He said no. She flipped out and screamed for a manager while he just cracks up, takes off his mock and walks out. Edit, sent a link to my buddy who wanted to correct a few points. Apparently we were older than I remember, freshmen in college. The guy who quit was a HS senior. Also, he said it wasn't as smooth as I made it seem. The person who quit had already told his friend / coworker, same HS I assume, about his plan and they were both barely keeping it together. I was a janitor at an elementary school. I worked there for several years and was popular with that K first grade teachers. I had to move to a different shift so I could work another job. So I swapped with another janitor that the second grade hallway teachers liked. It made them mad I suppose, and they would file complaints on my work and I often got called into the office. I was doing my job, but they wanted their other guy back. They were even being rude to me to my face. After several months of this, I get called to the office. My supervisor says one more incident, and I'm going to write you up. I was calm and said, that's okay, I'd like to put my 2 weeks in. He looked shocked and said don't you need some time to think about this? I said I have. Their opinion of me isn't going to change, and I rather save us some time. Well, not that epic. The look of WTH on his face was priceless. It was nice being able to quit like a calm reasonable person. In conclusion, I went back to school and got a much better job I enjoy. Nameless photography studio that's been in and out of business in certain cheap stores. They were shady as heck. Like, not ordering customers' images so they could get them to come in for another session to try to get them to buy other stuff. My regional manager was a bitch and would make fun of employees behind their backs. One girl she called horse/mule/donkey because she had large teeth. One girl I nicknamed Hooker Beth because her outfits were more revealing than she liked, etc. I'm sure I had a name, but she was terrible and I hated her. The company also sucked and would clock us out automatically even if we were still working. There was no overtime even though you were expected to work it. And if you did over 40 hours, they'd split it, so you'd only get 40 one week and then 40 the next. So one day, a Thursday, I have a lady come in looking for invitations she had ordered for her kid's birthday party. They are nowhere. I call the store manager who says I didn't like her, so I didn't order them. Now, I've had enough of this place and had a job lined up that was going to start in 2 weeks. So I told the lady what the SM said and gave her corporate's number. She called them in front of me and they basically played dumb. While she's on hold they call me and begin to cuss me out about how I told the customer this/that/everything. They said that I'd be docked pay for this. I laughed, said it, this isn't worth it. Told the girl on the phone that I was quitting. Gave the lady some free gift cards for her troubles. Shut the store down and left. Regional manager gave my cell phone hash out to all employees to have them prank me. She also tried calling me several times. Left some threatening voicemails about how she would ruin me and my career. Still waiting on that. Ended up going to see a friend that weekend and it was like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I slept for 12 hours that Saturday. Edith, thank you kind stranger for my first ever AskReddit silver. Although this was a chow of a job with a raging for a boss, it gave me the energy and drive to find the best job I ever had with coworkers and bosses that I truly loved. I'm still friends with 90% with them and it's been 10 years since the job contract finished. A coworker of mine at Subway when I was working during college. It's the lunch shift of one of the busiest shops in the area. Guy gets halfway through making a sandwich, looks at the customer and then our manager and says, "Till next time bro," and just walks out. Never came back, not even to pick up his final paycheck. When I left to go back to school, I left 100 sticky notes in random places throughout the store that said "till next time." I had to lay off my entire staff and myself with 8 hours notice. I was the contract project manager on a government project, office type work. At our periodic review on a Thursday, the government announced they would not be renewing our contract and our last day was Friday. The next day, I brought everyone into the conference room first thing the next day, let everyone know that we were all out of a job and that today was everyone's last day. I had everyone email me their resumes and we went over everyone's on the conference room projector and updated them over the course of the day. I then printed out reference sheets for everyone and we all spent the remainder of the day writing letters of recommendation for each other. I ordered everyone pizza and bought everyone a round of drinks at the bar next door. Most folks had jobs by the end of the next week. I was working as a field manager for a company that had a small team. They had recently hired 2 new guys who were fairly green to the industry, but not totally brain dead. One guy, let's call him Gary. He's kind of quiet, kept his head down. I had a distinct feeling that he didn't like me because as his direct supervisor it was up to me to train him up. Granted, I wasn't the best teacher as I was somewhat blunt and direct, but never insulting or demeaning. It's a slow week and we are cleaning up our warehouse. The 5 of us are all knocking it out so we can get out early, but Gary is kind of slacking off. Since he's not really putting much effort in, I ask, "Hey Gary, can you run the garbage out?" So he loads up the truck and heads out to the dumpsters behind the building. We had a lot of trash, but leaves behind the cardboard. So I think he's making 2 runs to kind of stretch out the workload, right? He comes back and proceeds to not also take the cardboard. "Yo Gary, can you also do the cardboard?" He gets pissed, storms out to the office, and proceeds to scream about me being a dick to him, to the bosses. Important note, I did not know this, I figured he was going to hit the bathroom. I walk into the office about 5 minutes later to hear him complaining about how I'm an asshole. The people he's telling this to look at me over his shoulder, and I realize that he's talking mad shit about me. He realizes it, turns around, and it's a classic So my one boss, he tells Gary that I'm his supervisor, and while he may not like me, he has to at least do as I ask, provided it's within reason. And taking garbage and cardboard out is part of our regular duties, and we all take care of it. Gary gets insanely pissed, starts screaming about how we're all just buddy, and quits. He removes his keys from his belt, we have truck keys, and literally throws them at my boss, and storms out cursing. We're all in shock, and I'm feeling kinda bashful. Gary comes back in 5 minutes later and asks for the keys, because his own car and house keys were still attached. Once he gets them, he says "F you" to all of us and storms back out. So epic. To this day, still my favorite of all time quitting stories.